You made it before I did. Welcome to my studio. My name is Lisa Preston, and for the last 10 years, I have been a STEM teacher at Metro Nashville Public Schools. And I'm very excited to talk to you today about the engineering design process, as well as how to float a boat. Today we're going to be using the engineering design process in order to build aluminum foil boats. When we build these boats, we're going to be testing them to see how many pennies they can hold. You're going to have the chance to design as well as reflect on that design to see if you can make it even better. For today's activity, you'll need aluminum foil, a ruler to measure the aluminum foil, a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, some paper towels or a regular towel just in case things get messy, some pennies, lots of pennies, maybe as many as 200 pennies depending on the size of your boat, and some form of bowl or Tupperware big enough to hold about 3 or 4 inches of water. The first thing we're going to do is take our aluminum foil and our ruler, and we're going to measure 12 inches by 12 inches. You'll need 2 sheets this size. Since my ruler is 12 inches, I can just measure it along the length here. And it looks like that's perfect. So now we're going to measure the other side. Using your scissors, cut your 12-inch square. And because I want to make sure that it's a perfect square, I'm going to put my ruler up at the top so I know where my line should end. Once you have your first piece, you'll do the same with the second piece. I'm going to use my first piece as a template so that I can make sure they're the same size. And now that you have your aluminum foil cut, go ahead and set that aside. The next thing you're going to do is, using your pencil and paper, draw a couple of different designs of what you think a boat might look like. For instance, my first design is designed after a canoe. It's pointy on both ends and round in the middle. The second design is more like a speedboat, pointy on one end and square at the other. The third design is meant to be more like a barge or a ferry, and that is more of a rectangular prism. And the fourth design is a circle with sides, and that's kind of like an inner tube you might float down the river. Once you've selected your design, use one piece of aluminum foil and try to build it. I'm going to start with the speedboat design. I know that when I was on lakes and rivers, I've seen speedboats that have many more people than a kayak or an inner tube. try to keep all of the sides the same height. That will help a lot. That looks pretty good. You'll notice that I covered my table with a towel in case any of the water spills. You might want to do the same. I'm now taking my bowl with 3 to 4 inches of water, and we can measure that using our ruler. It says just about 3 inches. And then I'm going to gently set my boat on top of the water. And now's the time for the test. How many pennies do you think that this boat will hold? Let's find out. To test my boat, I'm going to put 1 penny in at a time. And when I put the pennies in, I'm going to try to evenly distribute the weight. And by that, I mean I'm going to put 1 in the front, and then 1 in the back, 1 on the side, and then 1 on the other side. And I'm going to keep adding pennies until my boat sinks. $100 pennies so far. Don't worry if you lose track, you can count at the end as well. I can see that the water's starting to get higher, so my boat is in danger. Oh, it sank. Now let's see how many pennies we actually got. To do that, I'm going to pull some paper towels out so that I can put my pennies on the paper towels so it doesn't mess up my towel. I'm going to count the pennies as I pull them out so I know how many it took to make them sink. But I'm going to take 1 penny out because I know that last penny doesn't really count. It's what caused it to sink. $200, $201, $202, $203, $204, $205, 206 pennies. That's awesome. I'm going to dump the rest of my water from the boat back into the bin. And you can crumple up the aluminum foil and recycle it with your cans. Now, we're going to reflect on our design and think about, of the things we've drawn, which do you think might hold more pennies? Once you've made a decision about which design you're going to use your second piece of aluminum foil and create that design. But first, I'm wiping off my pennies because I don't want to use wet pennies for my boat. Why do you think that is? Water has weight, and if you use wet pennies, then you're adding more weight than just a penny. So make sure they're good and dry. I'm going to set these aside. And reflect on which design I'm going to try next. I think I've seen a kayak or a canoe with fewer people than a speedboat, so I'm not going to try that one. Looks like I'm trying the barge or the ferry. Using your second piece of aluminum foil, create the design. Remember to make sure that your sides are all the same height. And when you fold up the sides, make sure there's no leaking anywhere. That looks pretty good. Now we're going to test it again. Remember to use dry pennies. Looks like I'm out of my dry pennies, so I'm going to make sure that these are dry. And I'm going to start using these. That was it. Now it's time to take out the pennies and count them. Remember to take the last penny that you put in out of the stack because that one doesn't count. $280. That's almost the record. I read online that the record was 296. Do you think that your design could do that? Now that we're done counting, the cleanup is easy. Remember to shake the water out of your boat. I'm gonna add it to my other piece of aluminum foil so that I can recycle it. Now just to review, the parts of the engineering design process that we followed, we had a problem, we designed a potential solution. In fact, we designed at least 3 or 4 potential solutions. We chose one based on the information that we had, so we knew that the circle or the inner tube was really meant for one person, and so we didn't try that design. We knew that a speedboat could hold more people, so we did try that design. Why do you think the speedboat didn't hold as many pennies as the barge did? What could we do in order to make our design even better? That's part of the improvement step of the engineering design process. I hope you've enjoyed the lesson, and I look forward to the next time we get to spend together.